Jesus said, "And I will give you the keys of the kingdom. Whatever you forbid on earth will be forbidden in heaven, and whatever you permit on earth will be permitted in heaven." Welcome back to the Keys of the Kingdom series, and so far we have been looking at some keys of the kingdom that give us the power to unlock and lock things on earth such that heaven also unlocks and locks according to our command. So today's key, we are actually looking at perhaps the foundational key or principle for full manifestation as kingdom citizens. And Jesus speaking in Matthew 18, verse 3, "Truly I tell you," he said, "unless you change and become like little children, you will never enter the kingdom of heaven. Therefore, whoever humbles himself like this little child is the greatest in the kingdom of heaven." Note, unless you change and become like little children, you would never enter the kingdom of heaven. What does this mean exactly? Of course, for starters, he's not saying that we all grown men, grown women, we have to transform ourselves back to children. That's exactly what Nicodemus taught in John chapter 3, when he says you have to be born again. So what Jesus is saying, just like he told Nicodemus, is about a mind renewal, a mind transformation. And it's the same thing that the Apostle Paul came and repeated in Romans 12, that do not be conformed to the world, but be transformed by the renewing of your mind. So we have been translated from the kingdom of darkness into the kingdom of his dear son, and for us to fully access everything that is in store for us in the kingdom, we must not longer be conformed to the kingdom of the world we are coming from, but be transformed by renewing our mind to position ourselves to make the most of our new citizenship. So what does he mean when he says we should become like children? Well, we know one thing that is peculiar with children is that they lack experience. So Jesus is saying we should not bring our experience of the world into the kingdom. So in the world, the thing is that you have to fend and work and struggle by yourself, for yourself, with yourself. But he's saying in the kingdom, it's different. You have God's help. You have to trust on God to provide your needs, even as you work. So you remember that it's not your work providing your needs, but it's the Lord providing your needs through your work. So another thing with children is that because they really don't have negative experiences, they trust easily. So they have what Jesus talks about, faith. So they easily have faith in God, just like a child has faith in their parents. You know, when the father says, "Okay, what do you want?" And the child says, "I want a bicycle," or "I want a laptop." And the father says, "I'll buy it when coming back." The child has faith that the father is going to come back with that bicycle or with that gaming console. So when we come into the kingdom, we have to renew our minds from thinking that it all starts and ends with us to letting go and beginning to trust God, beginning to have faith that whatsoever the Lord has said, he is going to do. And this is important because the keys of the kingdom, for the most part, are always contrary to the keys of the world. For example, in the world where we are coming from, we are told to increase. You have to hoard, you have to store up things, you have to save and keep things to yourself. But in the kingdom, we are told that he that scattereth increaseth still, meaning that once you share, you give, that is the way to increase instead of hoarding. In the world, we are told that what you keep is what you have. But in the kingdom, what you have is what you give away. So that's why Jesus says, don't store up your treasures here in banks, in safes, which thieves can break into, but store it up in heaven. How? By being a blessing to others. Because what you give has not actually left your life. It may have left your hands, but it has been stored forever in heaven. And so we naturally have this conflict, when you come into the kingdom as an adult, you have this conflict of your experience in the kingdom you're coming from, the kingdom of the world, to the kingdom of heaven's own new principles and keys. And so Jesus says the secret is to renew your mind. Start thinking again like a child. You have no experience. If the Lord says give it all, you give it all. You don't need to be able to do any logic. You don't need to calculate or do the math, because with God, the math doesn't add up in our own way. Whatsoever the Lord says is right, is right. Speaking of experience, what you keep is what you have, gotten from the world. I think actually for the most part comes from an African proverb where they say it's what enters your stomach that is really yours. And that is gotten from the context of African homes, maybe in the past but still prevalent today, where there were so many children at home, and you look at 6, 7, 5, 10, 15 children. And so there was no such thing as serving food in individual plates. So food was served in trays, and so you have 10 kids around a tray eating. So when they say what you eat, what is in your stomach is what is yours, is because when we start eating as a group, 10 kids, everyone is respecting and compacting as the food is still much as the beginning. But once the food starts reducing, panic kicks in. The lack mentality, it's about to finish, I've not had enough, kicks in, and people start fighting and struggling. And usually someone may pull the tray and start running away with it. But others won't just allow him or her because they have the tray and they are going with it. It's not yet in their stomach. And so the chase after. So while he or she is trying to hide the tray from this person, the other person is sending their hand and grabbing the food into their stomach. So it's only what is in your stomach that is really yours, that you can claim, okay, you can't lose that again. But that's from that African proverb and gotten mostly from that context. But the proverb is not completely against the kingdom principle, because when you take it further to another level, it actually aligns with the kingdom principle, because whatsoever enters your stomach is what is yours. Now, but then we have to remember the secret is in that your stomach's capacity is limited. So you cannot eat a bag of rice in one sitting. So whatsoever has entered your stomach and filled your stomach, maybe even 3-4 plates of rice, the remaining 3 pots are not yours. And so you have to give it away. So that's still a higher level of seeing that proverb. But the problem is when we say, okay, I'm full, but I'm still going to hop this one. No, what enters your stomach is yours. Okay, 3 plates have entered, but there is still a bigger bag left. So that is not yours. You have to make it go round. So essentially, this key of the kingdom, Jesus is asking us to reconsider what we think we know once we want to have an effective walk with God in the kingdom. As effective kingdom citizens, we must not bring the old thinking of the world of how it has always been done into the kingdom. God is saying He can move mountains. He can make something out of nothing. And so we have to come like little children and trust Him and believe Him to do exactly just that. And the truth is, once we experience, we believe, and we appreciate and start applying this kingdom, 90% of all our worry and anxiety and depression and stress goes away. Because just like children, even when their parents are broke, they are not stressed. They don't even know their parents are broke. They are the parents who worry about what the child is going to have for dinner. But the child is out playing with their friends, and they know that they have parents, and they trust their parents to provide for them once it's dinner time. So the Lord wants us to bring that same attitude to experience the kingdom fully. He is our Father, and so we have to renew our minds to be His children completely. So I'd like to know what you think about this kingdom principle in the comments below. And which area of your life can you start applying this principle even now so that you can experience God's total peace and covering? If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up, and please share it with your friends to encourage us to carry on with this series. If you're new to this channel, subscribe and hit that bell so you don't miss the next video. Thank you so much for watching. I say a big thank you to all our patrons for helping us create this content. See you in the next video. That's our time in this video. I believe you were inspired by it. Then give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you're new to this channel for more great content like this. Remember to take responsibility on what you learned today. This video is proudly sponsored by our patrons. You too can support this channel by visiting our Patreon page. The link is in the video description below. I want to say a big thank you to all our patrons out there. I am 𝐊𝐤𝐲𝐬 from Wisdom for Dominion. Thank you for watching and see you in our next video.